Mission Christian Radio presents The Seventh Son, the story of King David of Israel, written for radio in 13 episodes by Colm Flanagan. Episode 6 is entitled Tragedy and Triumph.
My brother David spent a lot of his life hiding from Saul, king of Israel. Saul's increasing madness made his anger against David burn deep and long. He blamed David for all the ills which beset his kingdom, and yet there seemed to be some kind of a bond between the two men. David refused to let anyone talk badly of Saul. In fact, one or two folk who didn't get this message found out about it the hard way, for David himself could have quite a temper on occasion. So we all learned to keep our feelings about Saul to ourselves. And of course, David had a deep relationship with Saul's son, Jonathan. Secret letters passed between them. So I wasn't totally surprised to overhear the two of them in deep conversation one day when we were camped near a place called Horesh.
So, Jonathan, what are things like in the palace?
They're not good, David, and getting worse. Father's obsession with finding you seems to have put him in an even worse state than before. That crafty little Edomite Doeg seems to have more influence on him than anyone else, and all of it bad. He spurs Father on all the time, makes him see new enemies all the time. I think he suspects me of being in touch with you too, but he daren't move against me. Well, not yet anyway.
You're not in danger?
No, I don't think so, but I can't move against Doeg either, much though I'd love to get rid of him.
How's all this going to end, Jonathan?
Oh, I'll tell you. You will be king of Israel one day, David. I know that. I believe Father knows it too, whatever he says.
But I just can't see how.
Neither can I, but I know God has decided on it. We must be patient. I will never be king, and that's fine. I don't want the crown. It is yours by right. But if you're in the market for a chief advisor...
Well, then the job's yours, Jonathan.
I will always be loyal to you, David. I swear it.
And I to you, my friend. Now, go in peace. It would be wise to get back to Saul before he starts wondering where you've gone.
Or before Doeg reminds him. Goodbye, David.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
It was to be the last time they'd meet. None of us knew that at the time, of course, but I couldn't help feeling just a tiny bit jealous when I overheard the comment about Jonathan being chief advisor. I suppose I had had hopes of being that, but I knew that it would be important for David to be seen to build bridges with the previous king's regime and family. After all, he was still married to Saul's daughter, Michal, although he never talked about her. In fact, there were other women in his life now. Of course, none of us had the ability to see how everything would eventually work out in the future. The final act in the David and Saul story was to begin, like so many others had done, with the Philistines.
Your Majesty, bad news.
What is it, Doeg?
The Philistines, Your Majesty, they're attacking again. Their army is bigger than ever. This time they've set up camp at Gilboa.
Again? Will I never have peace? Oh, if only Samuel were here to give me good advice.
Samuel is dead, Your Majesty.
Oh, I know that, you fool. But when he was advising me, I always knew the mind of the Lord. Oh, I should have listened to him more. Now it's all too late. I must consult Jonathan.
Oh, that's not necessary, Your Majesty. And anyway, I'm not so sure your son is always the best person to advise you.
And you are?
Well, it's not my place to say it, Your Majesty.
But?
Are you sure of his loyalty? I wonder if he's not getting his own ideas about...
Are you suggesting my son wants my throne? You wouldn't last long if he did, Doeg, so just see to it that he doesn't do anything silly.
Yes, Your Majesty, if he will listen to me. But I know where you might get some good advice if it's not too late.
What do you mean, Doeg?
There's a woman I have heard of, Your Majesty, who is a spirit of divination.
Divination? Have I not spent the last year ridding my kingdom of those accursed mediums and witches, Doeg?
Yes, Your Majesty, but I just wondered.
Oh, you did you? These people claim to speak with the spirits of the dead. Don't you know that is an abomination in the eyes of God?
Oh, just so, Your Majesty, but might not she be able to get in touch with Samuel?
If the prophet lives on, then all things are indeed possible. And it seems as if the Lord doesn't care much what happens to me, anyway. Right, just this once. See to it immediately, Doeg.
Late that night, Doeg and Saul put on disguises and slipped out from the army camp and made their way to the woman's house. Once inside,
What brings you fine gentlemen here to my humble abode at this time of night? I have little to offer you.
I understand you have a great deal of wisdom.
And what kind of wisdom would that be?
We would like you to have a conversation on my friend's behalf.
Your friend? Why hasn't he said anything so far?
Will you bring up the ghost of someone for me? It is very important.
I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you know that King Saul has hunted down and killed everyone who does such things? Why should I put my life at risk, even if I could do what you ask?
I swear by the living God you will not be harmed.
Well, that's very reassuring. But you have an honest face, such of it as I can see behind that hood. And your friend here has told me he'll make it worth my while, just so long as King Saul doesn't find out. Who do you want me to bring up?
Samuel. The prophet Samuel.
You are King Saul! You have tricked me! You'll have me killed!
No, I swear that you will not be harmed, but I must speak with Samuel's ghost. Now do it. What is it? What do you see?
I see a spirit rising out of the ground.
Well, what does it look like?
Old man. He is wearing a robe.
It is Samuel. Bow down, everyone, quickly, bow down!
Why have you done this? Why have you brought me back? I should not be here.
Samuel, I am so worried. The Philistines. It's the Philistines. They are attacking me. I cannot speak to God. He has turned his back on me and he won't answer me anymore, no matter what I do. What should I do?
It's no good, Saul. The Lord has turned away from you, and he's now your enemy. I can't help you. The Lord has sworn to take away your kingdom and give it to David, and that is what he will do.
Well, the Philistines.
Tomorrow
What about the
Philistines will defeat your army, and you and your sons will join me here
No!
in the world of the dead.
Oh, Your Majesty, help me with him, woman. He's been fasting all day. He's very weak.
Your Majesty, I've done all you asked of me. Now let me help. Have something to eat. Then you'll have strength to go back to your camp.
Saul recovered enough to take some food. He rested a while, and then they left the woman's house and made their way to where the army was. The next day dawned, and the Battle of Gilboa began.
It's no good, Your Majesty. They've overcome us. Jonathan has just been killed.
No! And the others?
Gone, sire. All your sons are dead. You too are wounded.
Yes, but I will not leave this place. Now do it. Flee. Save yourself.
Yes, sir.
Where is my armor bearer?
Your Majesty, I'm here at your side.
I will not be taken alive by the Philistines and paraded through their streets as a laughing stock. So kill me and then get away from here if it's not too late.
No, sire, I can't do that.
I order you.
I've always obeyed you, sire, but not this time. I will not do it.
Then I will do it myself.
So Saul died, as did his sons, and all of his personal guard of soldiers. And when the others in the army heard the news, they fled also. Later the Philistines returned and cut off Saul's head. They took his armour, nailing his body and that of Jonathan to a city wall. Then they sent news to all their allies that Saul was dead. But some of Saul's supporters later took his body down and gave him and his 3 dead sons a decent burial. The death of Saul upset David hugely. He mourned him and Jonathan also, and his mood affected us all. A gloomy pall hung over our camp. Then one evening David called for me, and we walked up into the hills. "What's on your mind, David? Saul? Jonathan?"
Yes, it's strange. One hated me, at least I think he did. Yet I couldn't hate him. The other loved me, and I loved him more than any other. But they're both dead, out there on the hills, and it's because of me.
You? Oh, come on, that's not true, David.
Isn't it? Should I have done things differently, brother? If I'd been at Gilboa with them, at their side, fighting for my king and my own folk, my men adding to the army, maybe we could have prevented this.
I don't know. But surely this is all the Lord's will.
The Lord's will. It's easy to say. I used to think that it would be all so simple that, after all, I am the Lord's anointed. Samuel and even Saul said it, so how can I go wrong? The kingdom will be mine someday. But Saul was the Lord's anointed too. I believe that. Will it be my turn someday? What if the Lord deserts me and drives me mad too?
We sat in silence for a long time after that, and then David spoke quietly. But he wasn't speaking to me.
Israel, your famous hero lies dead on the hills, and your mighty warriors have fallen. It was easy to love Saul and Jonathan, together in life, together in death. They were faster than eagles and stronger than lions. Our warriors have fallen in the heat of battle, and Jonathan lies dead on the hills of Gilboa. Jonathan, I miss you most. I loved you like a brother. Our warriors have fallen, and their weapons are destroyed.
They're good words, David. They deserve a fitting lament.
Yes, they do. Come, let's go home.
David later made the words he'd spoken on the hillside that night into a song, one of many he composed. It was called The Bow, and was taught to all the tribe of Judah. And sometime later, the tribe of Judah acclaimed him as their king in the city of Hebron. Oh, it was a happy day. David was their king at last. But there was other, less good news. One of Saul's sons, Ishbosheth, had survived the disaster at Gilboa, and Saul's general Abner now proclaimed him king of the other tribes of Israel. Civil war broke out between the two rival armies. It lasted for 7 long years, killing and more killing. But David was finally victorious in this fight, and was able to enter his new capital of Jerusalem as king of all the people of Israel. I looked forward to more peaceful times, but, as so often, I was wrong about that.
In episode 6 of The Seventh Son, the narrator and seventh son was played by John Lander, and other parts were played by members of the Commission radio drama team. The play was produced in Belfast at Commission Studios by Colm Flanagan. Episode 7 is entitled The Palace and the Tent.